Okay. All right. I know we have a few of our attendees on. A few people might be missing, but they'll probably join in a couple of minutes. So good morning, everybody. And well, I guess it's afternoon now, technically, 2 minutes after 12. Welcome to our featured professional webinar that we do every month. We really appreciate you joining. Today, we have a really special guest, Carrie Durko from Ooh La La Travel. She's been in the travel industry for over 30 years, and you've worked for a number of companies, AAA, American Express Travel, and is it Navigant? Navigant. Yeah. A lot of our clients use AAA. I've heard them use that, but I mean, you've done the whole thing.
Yeah, I started with AAA like 32 years ago. Yeah. So that's where I, started my career.
Isn't that where, I mean, that's where everyone used to, like 30 years ago, like that's all you really had. Like you went to AAA,
right?
Didn't you?
Right. And I worked in a mall. So the foot traffic we had, like it was just, people were coming in constantly. It was so busy. So it really you had to learn because you had no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've kind of been through the ropes here, although now with the pandemic, I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
Right. It's been a crazy year and a half.
I know you're going to talk a little bit about that today, just in addition to some general travel information. But like I was saying, I mean, we wanted to do this because we know for many of you, travel is a really important component of your retirement goal. And right now, that's become really uncertain. I think I get questions about that in almost every single meeting. We didn't travel last year, Melissa. Could we have a bigger travel budget now for this year? What's it look like to be able to travel? So I think this is totally timely and super exciting. And now that, the Delta variant's kicking in again too, like maybe that's even changing a little bit more because it was kind of opening up.
Right. It was getting better and now we're taking a little turn, but I still expect it to get better.
Yeah. We have a COVID tracker and one of the things it tracks is, it's called a recovery tracker. We just sent it out, I think, with our newsletter, but it tracks like 2019 versus 2020, I guess occupancy for airplanes. And I just saw this last night. That's why I'm bringing it up. Yeah. And then it tracks where it is now. And interestingly enough, about a month ago, the demand was almost back up to where it was in 2019. And then you see this little dip again. So people must be getting spooked again about the travel because they it was like, okay, flights are full. And then, so it's really interesting. But I know you're going to talk about a bunch of things today. I know you're going to talk about, the benefits of using a travel agent. Traveling in COVID, travel tips. We talked a little bit about the mobile passport and the My app, which is really cool. And then travel insurance, which we also think as advisors could sometimes be advisable, no pun intended there, but could sometimes make sense. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Carrie.
So where should we start? Should we get COVID out of the way? Or
probably that sounds like a good idea. Everybody wants
to. So if you're planning travel in the near future or even the beginning of next year, there's still a lot of restrictions out there. So you got to make sure that, you dot all your I's, cross all your T's, because a lot of countries, there's a checklist you have to go through in order to be able to be allowed in. And you need to make sure that you have it all done because they will deny you boarding. So you could get to the airport and if you don't have what they need, you'll be coming back the next day, or you'll just have to completely rebook your trip, which could, you could lose a lot of money doing that potentially.
Yeah.
So, every country will have a portal that will give you the exact, if you're not using a travel advisor, every country has a website that will give you all of the details that you need. A lot of them have you have to fill out a health authorization form and say that you don't have COVID and agree to all their terms and everything. Most of them do require the COVID test, and the type of test you get is very important. Some require a PCR test, some an antigen test, and Hawaii even has a different test you have to get. So the type of test you get is also very important. Not only that, also check your passports too, because most countries do want you to have 6 months validity on your passport. If you don't, that's another reason they'll deny you boarding too. So there's a lot of things to, make sure you have done before you travel. It's stressful right now to travel. So, my biggest tip during this time is pack your patience, because it's frustrating and it's time consuming. The lines are long. So,
But it's not impossible.
oh gosh, no, it's not
A
impossible.
lot of people think you're not allowed to travel internationally,
right.
when really you just have to jump through these extra hoops, right?
Correct. Right. It's just a lot of homework before you go. But
Yeah.
everybody that I've sent away recently, even in the last, since the US put in place that you needed the COVID test to come back, everybody is just thrilled that they were able to go and happy that they went.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Well, because I traveled recently.
Yeah.
Which you helped me with, but and it was wonderful, and actually everything went very smooth, which I was
Great.
surprised. I mean, it's extra hoops you have to jump through, but it actually saves you some time on certain things, because there's no
Right.
more, like, for example, there's no more paper, like customs documents. When you're on the plane and they give you those
Yeah.
documents and you have to fill it out, and you're like, I don't have a pen, and you're all that jazz.
Yeah.
You actually now do everything online, including all the COVID stuff. So it kind of saved me a little bit of time, especially with juggling with the kids and everything. It was
and
a lot better.
that's too country specific too, because some countries still you do have to fill out the paper forms.
But I think a lot of them, everywhere we
using
went,
that.
it was.
Yes.
So
Right.
I mean, I
Right.
think that's probably
Right.
different, but in some cases.
Yeah.
But the United States, no matter what, has the same requirements. So what do you
Correct.
need to do to get back into the United States?
So to get back, you do need to have a COVID test taken within 3 days before you return. It can be either a PCR or an antigen test. So you don't have to, antigen tests cost less than the PCR test. A lot of the resorts had been providing the antigen tests at no charge.
Mhm.
That is changing though recently. I've gotten a lot of emails of a lot of different chains that now are going to charge a fee to have the antigen test if you're booking from here
Yeah.
on out.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and usually, I mean, they're really good about coordinating,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's a
right.
resort or like you're at a house or whatever, they
Correct.
say, this
Yeah.
is what you have to do before you leave, and they kind of schedule the tests.
Right.
And I know, like, when we were in Dominican, they gave us the results right there, so
Right.
you knew, and then they give
Yeah.
you either like a piece of paper that you take back to prove that you had a negative test, or you
Right.
like take a picture of it, or they send you an email with like a
Right.
code, and then you use the code at the
airport.
Right.
And then you also need that, US requires you to fill out this attestation form. And that's the other thing. You need the negative test and your attestation
saying,
form
yeah, I'm not,
that you haven't been with anybody
Right.
that's been,
that you haven't
had
been
COVID.
exposed.
Correct.
And this was an important thing that two things that I learned whenever I was traveling. So the one is this applies whether you're vaccinated or not.
Correct.
That's a big thing, because there was a lot of questions like, well, I'm vaccinated. Do I need to do this? Do I
Right.
not need to do this?
The US,
You have to do it no matter what.
At this time. I'm hoping
And
that changes.
I know Josh and we had everything on our phones and we were all ready to go.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would have printed everything out as a backup next time
Oh,
anyway, because
Okay.
it was just hard juggling all the stuff and then the phones, and they're trying
Especially
to.
if you're multiple travelers on one.
That's what it
phone.
was. There were
Yeah,
5 of us, so
yeah.
it was like a lot.
Right.
But I would print it out and have the electronic stuff on my phone again.
Yeah.
If I were to do it again, that's what I would
You
do.
would have it.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible to travel.
It's not impossible. It's just a
It
little
sounds
extra
worse than
work.
it is. It's just more
right.
like extra check-ins.
Exactly. It sounds scary, but once you're going through it,
Yeah.
it's fine.
You do have to wear a mask in every airport, every plane, the entire time.
Right.
So that's a little bit of a bummer, even if you're vaccinated. And it does get hot, like you're walking and you're
Right.
like, oh my gosh, I'm so hot.
Yeah, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
right.
Okay.
I don't. But
Well, that was my
Yeah,
kind of
so-
recent experience. But
yeah, but really the important thing is before you go, make sure you understand your country that you're going to visit, their requirements. That's a big thing. And then remember that you need the COVID test to get back.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else. Are there any questions? You guys there's a little button at the bottom. I think you can raise your hand or, just type a question in there. Just let us know. You might think of something along the way. Well, so in addition to that, I hear like a lot of people will say, oh, like, I didn't know that travel agents still existed.
Oh, I know, I
So
get that a lot.
yeah.
Right,
So,
right.
because like everybody just goes on to like Expedia or something
Yeah,
now, and
right,
like,
right,
VRBO and all that, but they don't always get the
Right.
best experience, right?
Well, right. If you use a travel agent or travel advisor, whatever they're being called, we're your advocate. So we're there to help you. Most travel agents don't charge fees. Some do. We charge a plan to go fee just to make sure that you're serious about going. It does get applied to final payments. But we're your advocate. So if there's a problem or you have questions, you can always reach out to us. You can call, we'll answer the phone. If you need somebody Expedia, you might not get that kind of service.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, we have the resources to help you, and we're going to work for you. We're going to work hard to get it fixed or help you out, whatever we can do. We're saving you time. We do this day in and day out, so we know what to look for. We're going to qualify, our customers and see what you're looking for. And we're going to try to match you with what we think will work best in what you're looking for. Some people want spectacular beaches. Some people are more pool people. We know which resorts are on the better beaches than, others that have great pools. So we're a time saver for you. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you use one if you are able to, and it's not going to cost you any more than, it shouldn't cost you any more than booking online.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Like when a client calls you, you kind of do, I know you do like an intake, right? You kind of just qualify. I think that's a perfect word, is qualify.
Right.
Figure out like, what is it that this client's looking for? And it could be different for every trip, right? I mean, we don't really know.
It is different because everybody's different. And we also will ask what your budget is, what you want to spend, because I'm not going to be giving somebody, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not going to give somebody the Ritz-Carlton if, they're more of Marriott, they want to pay more along the Marriott. So, we do qualify and find out what you're looking for so we can narrow it down, give you a few good options, that works with your budget, that kind of fits your needs. And then we go from there.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's really helpful because I know, especially when we're doing planning with people, I mean, most people have some idea of like what they want to spend. They don't have an unlimited budget.
Right.
And also I would imagine, I mean, you have a lot of experience. Like, so for example, if you're sending someone to Barbados or St. Martin, like if you send someone in the past, like, oh, this resort, people don't have a really great experience at, or like
not that great, or,
you just know those things from doing it day in and day out.
Right. From years of doing it and years of feedback. And then we have a lot of resources and relationships because, a lot of these destinations we go and visit and tour the different resorts ourselves. And we make relationships with, the resort managers and things, even the tour operators that we use. We have relationships with them. That way, if something would come up that you would need assistance, we have the access to people that can help out.
Yeah.
So it works good. And it's a time saver for you, and gives you that peace of mind that somebody's there to has your back.
Well, sure, right. And then there's some recourse. Like if something's not going well, they can kind of reach back out to you and say,
Correct. Yeah. And sometimes people just get to the resort and, the room's not what they had expected. A lot of times too, it's just an oversight with the front desk person checking you in. They gave you the wrong room category. A lot of times clients have better luck reaching out to us, shooting us a quick email saying, hey, I don't think I'm in the right room category, and a quick phone call from us to the resort, and we can get that fixed. Yeah.
Well, and some trips are more complicated than others, right?
Correct. Yes.
Like I know like a Disney trip versus like a weekend trip somewhere is probably like a lot more coordination and effort. And if you don't know what you don't know, it's kind of nice to have somebody guide you a little bit.
And especially too, a lot of the European trips we put together too, I mean, those are really involved. What we can put together for you would probably take the average person not knowing what they're looking for a really long time.
Yeah.
Many, many hours.
Well, I know that personally because I've done, I know like my mom and I have always been the people in our family who like coordinate all the trips.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like hours and hours and hours of looking for stuff. And then sometimes you don't even know what you're getting because I mean, you could be looking at a website.
Yeah, like the location of the hotel or
Yeah, you have to really familiarize yourself with so much to be able to like make the decisions about what all that's going to look like. So what about cruising? A lot of our clients cruise. I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about too, like regular cruising, I think like Caribbean, all that, but then river cruises. I hear people talking a lot of that. Like, what's the deal with cruising?
So you mean in
Just in general and with COVID?
With
Both.
COVID,
I
yeah.
mean,
So I'm excited that some of the cruises are happening now, and they've done a lot of the test sailings, and it seems to be going good. It looks like the majority of cruise lines are moving towards having vaccinated travelers. There are a handful that are saying that you can do either vaccination or COVID test, but it looks to me like they're kind of leaning towards having vaccinated travelers. So you want to make sure, and if this is really a personal decision, if someone's uncomfortable being on a cruise ship with unvaccinated people, then you want to make sure that you are looking for the cruises that are only allowing vaccinated travelers. Okay. Yeah, because some are allowing both. So you'll want to look into that before booking.
So it's not the same across the board. They're each making a decision.
Yeah, so that's why it's just not a blanket. It's different between cruise lines.
Okay. So. But in general, like you can also help people coordinate cruising.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
What other travel tips?
So mobile passport is a really good travel tip that's not as well known. Mobile passport, for those that don't know, it's like if you've heard of global entry. Global entry is something that you pay for that you will be able to, on your return to the US, go through customs much quicker because they have a separate line for global entry.
It's just like a kiosk, right?
Correct.
You just bypass all the
lines.
Yeah,
because you won't be in the general kiosk line that is very long. So mobile passport is something that is free to anybody that wants to download it onto their phone, and it is its own separate line. So I even have like global entry myself, and I still use the mobile passport because it gets me through even quicker than global entry. Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
It is.
Yeah,
well, it's because no one knows about it yet.
Right.
Maybe we shouldn't tell anybody.
I know.
No, I know. Right?
Yeah. But you just download it onto your phone. Now there's a free version and a pay version. And the pay version just holds your information and saves it. The free version only holds your information, I believe, for like 4 hours.
It's like 2. I think it says 4, but I think it might come out faster. I don't know.
Yeah. So you just put in your passport information, take a picture of yourself, and it'll give you a code that you can just use the mobile passport line, and it's so much quicker. So that's like a great tip. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Josh and I have global entry.
Yeah.
Which we get the TSA pre-check with that, which is nice because we always get through the pre-check line, which allows you to go through without taking your shoes off or anything. Right. And for us, like, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but with the kids and everything,
it's huge. I think
huge.
It is huge. Yeah.
So we usually go through that line, and then, but we can't use the global entry upon arrival because the kids don't have it. So the passport that you told us about worked best for us. And all you do is like, as you're landing, like, or you put your, like, while you're on the plane, you just put everybody's passport number in, you like register them, you do the picture. And then, although you'll laugh because like it took us like a while to get the baby's picture because he kept like flailing around. He didn't want us to take his picture. Like, it's so funny. Look, we don't have a picture of him. Finally got this one, like, totally sideways. But then we got there and we literally got to bypass, like, there's this huge line, and there were like 4 people in front of us. And it's like no one knows about it. It's like,
now the only thing though, you got to watch because not all airports accept mobile passport.
Oh yeah, you have to look it up.
Yeah, so you have to make sure. And I want to say the big one that doesn't, I think it's Atlanta.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think there's one big one that you think, oh geez, they should have it, and they don't. But
is that the app name? It's mobile. It's mobile pass, right?
Mobile I thought it was mobile passport.
It might be.
Well, it's like a blue guy. Like it's
you can tell, but there were a couple that came up, so it was like mobile. But you know what? We'll send out the link and the follow up to this. That way everybody has the right one.
Right.
We'll do that. But it was pretty nifty. Saved a lot of time.
Yeah, it does save a lot of time. That's a good one there. Yeah. So, what should we talk about next? Should we go to travel insurance or?
Oh yeah,
what else on that list? I can't
remember.
Tips,
insurance.
Tips, insurance. Let's talk about insurance. Right now, insurance, I highly recommend it. I highly recommended it before COVID, but I think we all see now the importance of it. I know so many people don't want to spend any more when they're planning a vacation, but I'll tell you what, I've been in this industry for so long. I've seen some really bad things happen. I've seen people lose a lot of money for something that a couple $100 could have saved them thousands. So, every insurance isn't all created equal. So it depends on what you're booking. If you're booking like a Caribbean package and the tour operator is offering you cancel for any reason insurance, that's really a good one to take. Now, since COVID, the prices have gone up on the cash back option, because usually when you have the cancel for any reason, they give you two options. One is a travel credit option and one is a cash back option. They had always priced pretty reasonable up until the last few months. Yeah, the cash back is really high, but if you want that money for something, then I would pay for the cash back. The other hand is travel credit. That's good too, because if you think, well, if we couldn't go this time, we would definitely go again, then the voucher is all you need. And then there's also, depending on the package, let's say you're not doing a Caribbean trip with a tour operator that offers that, if let's say you're doing a cruise or you're doing
like a European,
just like another complicated, there's third-party insurances that cover it. Usually the cancel for any reason or cancel for any time insurance, you got to read the small print, because usually those aren't covered at 100%. They're usually covered at 80% or less, 75%. So just make sure you're looking and you know what you're buying. That's really all I can say, and make sure you understand your policy.
Well, and on that note, so what do they cover? Because I know there's more than just cancellation. So some of it's canceled for any reason. Some of it can be canceled because of illness.
Right. So most of your policies are going to cover cancellation due to injury, illness, or death to you, your traveling companion, or an immediate family member. That's usually pretty much what your standard, classic, basic policy. And then there's other things that they cover too. And again, I hate to throw out things because every policy is going to be different. So you just want to make sure you're, but I have other policies too. Like for instance, let's say you think that you might have to cancel because work's getting busy or your boss is going to tell you that you can't go. We have policies that would cover the same thing, the classic plan or the basic plan, and then gives another additional waiver for work-related reasons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it just really depends on what you think might happen. And I know it's hard to say, for instance, COVID, I had so many people that said, oh, we're not canceling this trip. We're going no matter what. We never in a million years thought COVID would
persist.
Right. So
well, you just never know, because most of these things are unforeseen. And well, the other thing is, don't they also cover emergency?
Yes.
And this is really big because people just don't think of this.
Right.
You're in St. Martin, something horrible happens. There's an accident. You need a better hospital than they have there.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Right. And that,
like, your health insurance isn't sending you home. Like, they're not paying.
People don't think of that. For instance, this is a story I tell so many of my clients because it's just so true. I had a client who would book with me every year, and every year he would decline the travel insurance every single year. Well, the next year came, and I asked everybody if they want it. And, I said, hey, I know you always tell me no, but I have to ask, would you like travel insurance? And he was like, yes, Carrie, I do want it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so shocked. And he's like, well, let me tell you, a friend of his happened to be out of the country, and unfortunately something tragic happened, and they had to get his wife back home, and it cost him his life savings to get his wife back home and get her the care she needed. And he said this in his words, they're penniless now because he had to spend all his money to do what he could to get her home. So something that a couple $100 could really pay for itself 10 times.
I mean, I think one of the policies that I looked at cover, because you know me, I mean, I'm an insurance agent, not for that, but I am always reading the fine print. I think it was up to $500,000 in emergency and transportation services for a family.
Right.
And I mean,
that's per person.
It is per person. Maybe
person.
I don't, okay.
Yeah,
and I mean, that's huge. If you have to be life flighted from an island or somewhere to get to it, and you care about your family members, if if you need to do that and it's your husband or your spouse or like your brother or you're paying whatever you have to get that person where they need to go. I mean, that's just one of those fluke catastrophic things.
Yeah. No one ever, expects like something like that to happen, but
and hopefully it won't.
It's nice to have that, coverage in case you do need it. So yeah.
Is there anything else that they cover? I feel like there were a few other things like more minor, but
yeah. Oh yeah. There's a long list. I think there's like 18 or 21 things that they cover.
There's additional benefits. And stuff
right. Right.
There's like a lost luggage.
Oh
piece.
yeah.
Like it's nice for people to know like there's actually other benefits.
Delays. Yeah.
You'd be surprised. You can collect for it like on a lot of things. I know I've lost my luggage multiple times. Yeah. And I mean, think about what it costs to replace everything in a suitcase. It's not like that $200 that the airline gives you. I'll tell you that much. That's like 2 pairs of shoes.
And it has to be gone for a length of time too. Yeah. It just can't be gone for like, a couple hours.
No, but that happens. It like goes away and like I've never gotten suitcases back.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's never been returned.
I've had that happen to me once or twice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, when it's really scary, when it's really important is people that are going on a cruise. And they get to their destination and their luggage isn't there and they're getting on this ship where they have to dress for dinner and they have
no clothes.
And they have no clothes and they have none of their products. Yet that's when it's really a great benefit to have, because then they can go to the store, on the ship and purchase what they need and be reimbursed at a later time. So that's just
it's a good thing.
It's travel insurance. I personally don't leave home without it. And I'm not an insurance agent. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just telling you from my experience, because I know the minute I don't buy it, something bad's going to happen and I'm going to need it.
I never used to take it either, but then I had a bunch of bad experiences, weather related, sickness, you just never know. Right. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah. So. You don't know. That's true.
Yeah, that's helpful. But one of the other things I thought of, what about it just as far as like the benefits of like working with somebody, the travel app?
Remember that app? That's the app that you used for your last trip?
Yeah. That was really
so
nice.
Now that COVID has been a thing, we used to always send out travel documents. I'm old school. I like the paper documents. So this is really out of my comfort zone, but now we have an app that we put all of the travel information into this app. It has your flights, it has your actual documents that you would have gotten paper, but they're downloaded into the app. And it can work on your phone even without internet.
Yeah, you can say like download
it and you can save it. And then you have access to everything right on your phone. It's really a beautiful thing. It's starting to grow on me now.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to keep everything in one place, like all the COVID forms and all of that.
And when you're working with a travel agent, or even if you're not, if you're just booking things, piecemealing it together,
you can just
it's nice to have it all together and you're not searching for emails.
Yeah, that's the worst when you're like, where am I going? I can't have the address for the hotel. You get there and
And it's listed on a day by day as well. Like, so if you have tours and you have everything, you can put them by day and it's just really, it's great. Yeah. It's been helpful, I think.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a question? I feel like there's a question. I'm gonna come on over here. Let's see. I didn't see that pop up. Oh. Hi, Carrie and Melissa. What countries and beaches are clear of the seaweed at this time? Oh my goodness. You know what? That is a great question. That seaweed's really annoying.
Yeah. Seaweed. Well, so how about when you were in St. Martin? How were the beaches?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. No seaweed.
No seaweed. But everywhere I've been in the last couple of years has been a lot of seaweed.
Yeah.
Mexico.
Mexico had a really rough year this year. But you know what? I've seen some pictures recently. And it seems to be getting better. The seaweed seems to be getting a little bit better than what it was. So
Dominican's really
the
bad.
summer months are really tough. Seaweed, it's been worse in the last few years. I guess climate change.
In Florida too.
I think Florida.
Yeah, there's a lot of that seaweed in Florida. It's for different reasons though, I think in different places, but it is really,
right. Yeah.
What do they call it in Florida? The red tide, right.
Red tide.
But I don't think it's the same in the other countries, but it's pretty much a lot of the that Gulf.
Right, in the Gulf
Coast.
Right, yeah, I guess because Punta Cana gets it too.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's a tough one. And you never know from year to year who's going to get hit with it and who's not.
Yeah, you should just check ahead of time. Like, how do you know?
You know
Gotta
what, though?
travel.
I've been places, for instance, even in like Jamaica, I've been on a beach with absolutely no seaweed. And then the next day you wake up and all of a sudden there's seaweed. So it just depends on the tides and everything. So it's really hard to plan for that. I can never promise anybody that they won't have seaweed. Seaweed lives in the
Yeah.
ocean, and it's just a fact. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Diane.
Yeah, there was one beach where I went on, and it was so bad. They were moving it with like trucks,
Oh yeah,
like
that's what they do.
giant
They come in and-
bulldozer truck,
yeah,
like type trucks, like front loaders.
right.
And I mean, it was like you couldn't really swim because it would like stick to you, and it just made you feel itchy, and it
Yeah.
was really not pleasant.
Yeah. But
Nor
then you
was
feel
it
bad for
attractive.
some of the locations that have the guys out working and trying to clean up all the
Yeah, they're
seaweed.
constantly.
Yeah, and they work really hard. So
I guess you
yeah,
just
it's
check
just-
ahead of time.
right, and just it really too depends on the time of year that you're
Yeah,
going.
but really, I mean, East Coast, West Coast, it's more that Gulf, Caribbean,
It's worse,
from what I
yeah,
understand.
right.
Yeah.
But the other year, Barbados was getting hit by it really bad a few
Mhm.
years ago. So that's not always foolproof. Sometimes it's the Southern Caribbean too that gets
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so that whole area,
Right.
in general.
Right.
Okay. Does that answer everybody's question? Hopefully. Well, I mean, that's a lot of really good information. Does anyone have any questions, like specifically about like designing trips? Or I know from the standpoint of planning, I mean, there's finding, accommodations, but also how do you get there? Like arranging transportation
And like
rental cars
right,
and
transfers
trips.
or rail if you're taking the train. There's just so many components
There
to
are,
it.
it has to like all fit together.
Right.
Um,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
So
We'll give it
No
1
other
minute. If
questions?
anyone has a question, there's another one, I think. We need a little dinger. I don't always see it. I don't always see it pop up. Oh no, that's just, wait. What are your thoughts about traveling to Kenya and Tanzania in September? Yeah, maybe that's a good question. Like, let me expound upon that.
yeah.
Are there places that you wouldn't go right now? Maybe that's probably a good one. Like, or that you would just like say, you know what, maybe avoid these places until.
No, so you know what? That's really a good question because the government puts out the travel level warnings. So recently they've been putting out warnings that are really high to places that we are selling all the time. For instance, Aruba's one of them. It's kind of scary I don't want to tell somebody it's safe to go anywhere. Really, that's a personal thing. And you'd have to look at what the government has for the warnings of that area at the time and decide whether you think you're comfortable with going to that area or not.
Yeah. I
can't tell you it's safe to go anywhere. I wish I could, but I can't even tell you even around here that it's safe to go.
Right.
So I would definitely look at the government website and check to see what their warning level is.
Like, you mean the CDC website or
no,
like
the travel?
Okay, which
the
one is
government.
that?
I'm sorry.
What is
It's
that?
travel.state.gov.
Okay, we'll send that link too. Travel.state.gov.
And you can put in the country that you're thinking about going to, and it'll give you all the travel warnings and the level. And it's 1 through 4.
It's really interesting though, because I'm just gonna make a note or a comment on that. So I remember when we were thinking about traveling, my mother-in-law calls me, she's like, that place you're gonna go is a level 4. But then it was funny because I pulled up the map of the world and the whole world was like a level 4. So except for like China, it was like one country that was like not. So I guess, and that's the COVID level 4. And it was because at that time, I mean, everyone was all in the same boat. So if you were traveling at all, you were a level 4. Like, what's the US right now?
I have to be really careful about what I say here because of the reason, if the government has a level 4 out, for instance, during COVID, Mexico was a level 4. I packed up my kids and we went to Mexico. Do I suggest that everybody do that? Again, I can't tell you anywhere you're going to be safe anywhere. I can't. So it really is a personal decision, and you can weigh the risk of what the government is saying. I'm not telling people to ignore the level warnings. I don't want anyone to take it as that, but there are a lot of warnings out that makes me shake my head like, why?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's my whole thing. Like that seemed really alarming until I zoomed out and I looked at, well, this is where everywhere is. So if I'm going to go down to Hilton Head, I'm going to have the same risk as going to Aruba. But I think it's important to understand that the perceived risk of going to Aruba is more than going to Hilton Head. But there might even be more cases in Hilton Head. All I'm saying is to be informed and put in perspective.
Right.
Because at least that's the way I look at just life in general. And the same way we look at investments, like you kind of have to zoom out and say, like, let's put it into perspective.
Right. And another thing.
And then you can make a decision for yourself.
On that too is, when I did go to Mexico during a level 4, and I went and I saw all the safety measures they had in place. In my mind, I'm thinking they have more safety measures here than we do, at home. So, I'm not sure what they base their level ratings on, if it's just numbers of COVID cases or what. But, you have to do a little more research as far as that goes, as to, what your own personal comfort level is, other than that, September, would be, I don't see why you shouldn't go to Kenya as long as you're comfortable with doing it.
Yeah. Well, and it probably is a good idea to check out the individual websites of where you're going to see what safety measures are putting into play. So like if you're going to a resort, the hotel, like, are they doing this? Are they doing that? Like, is this a hotel that doesn't care?
Right.
I mean, just like you said about the.
And another thing, do you have to wear a mask at the resort or do you not?
Oh, that's a really good one. They made us wear masks almost everywhere.
Oh, when you were out and about.
Yes, and it was. I mean, it was kind of like it's hot. Like like if you were in the pool, you didn't really have to, but like pretty much everywhere else, you go like walking around the main areas and you had to mask up.
Yeah, and that's really too, just depends on the resort.
Probably not going to go away.
Depends on destination.
Yeah.
Some are more strict than others.
I mean, I guess it is what it is. It's just like today.
Yeah, right. And we have to adapt and, just always have a mask on hand.
Yeah.
So,
well, this has been very informative. I think there were a lot of good tips given today. I know you've taught me a lot of things, so I mean, I'm happy to share it with everybody else too. If there's no other questions, I think we'll probably wrap it up here. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Yeah. And if anybody has any questions, you can just shoot them to Melissa and I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah. Well, we'll send out those couple links. We'll send out the link to your website, which I know has information on it. And if anyone has any questions about traveling financially, of course, shoot them over here. And we can hook you up with Carrie or, whatever you need to do. So thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. Hopefully you're planning a nice, fun trip. I see who's going to be calling me for extra distribution soon over here. So, well, thanks for joining us for this event as well. We're going to continue to host these pretty much every month. We skip one every once in a while and just try to provide information that we know will be helpful to our clients. So if you have any suggestions for any topics, please feel free to text us at the office number or email us at info@steinwealth. And hopefully we'll see you all soon. Have a great rest of your summer and call us if you need us. Thanks. Bye, everybody.